So do you know who he is then or not? Or do you need me to tell you? Because shut up, little kid. Just be quiet, little kid, please. I can't tell what you. I don't know what you want from me. What's good, everybody, and welcome to Body Bag Podcast, a very special Body Bag Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Thomas, and with me, as always, Broke Rider Dave.
How's everyone doing today?
This is another special episode. I mean, I'd like to think that all of our episodes are special, but this one is a special request.
Yeah, it's our usual weekly review. Today it's more of a versus, putting two films against each other.
This one comes as per request by the Horror Demon on Instagram. We heard your pleas, Horror Demon, and we were going to do the two 1980 slasher movies, The Burning and Madman. I hadn't seen either of these two, and both of them are prime examples of classic 80s slasher. Very, very similar, yet very, very different.
Yes, I think I heard of The Burning, never heard of The Madman, so...
I've heard it, yeah, I'm in the same way. I've heard of The Burning, but I've heard of Cropsy, but I never heard of Madman Mars. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to do two little mini reviews, one on each, and then at the end we'll compare and contrast, and then we'll give a rating and say which one our favorite one was. Let's go ahead and get started. You want to start with...
Madman?
Yeah, Madman. You want to start with Madman since neither of us had heard of it?
Okay, so Madman starts at a campfire. They're kind of singing a song about Madman March, which goes into the story, which basically his legend is if you say his name above a whisper in the forest, that he'll come and get you.
Kind of like Discount Candyman.
Basically, but you only gotta say his name once. And of course, some teenage kid, whatever, is gonna yell at his name. So, and then they start heading back towards their camp base, except for one kid who gets distracted by something in the trees, leads them to what is actually Madman March's house. So he's in there, and while that's happening, Madman March starts going through slaughtering all the counselors and everything.
And that's about all the plot you really need.
Yeah, basically.
And then it just turns into your regular slasher. I mean,
yeah.
So you have your urban legend and then some teens going. I'll say this, but without talking about The Burning right now. What I thought was pretty cool is both of these movies focus on two different parts of a summer camp. In this one, it's the camp counselors, while in The Burning, it's the kids.
Yeah, well, I like that this one wasn't even a summer camp. They were out camping,
They were just out.
Yeah, it was close to Thanksgiving. They're yeah, we're heading off for Thanksgiving break. I'm why are they camping when it's cold out?
Right off the bat, this movie, the acting in this movie was super cheesy.
Not good at all.
I mean, I loved it. I was laughing more than anything because I love me some good cheese. But it starts off the teenagers are they counselors or are they just a bunch of are they counselors? Because they were talking about kids. So those were the counselors that we were sticking with because we rarely see the kids except for in the beginning and the end.
Yeah, it was the counselors, which I think they were meant to be older teenagers, but they looked like they were 30.
Yeah, very reminiscent of probably the first Friday the 13th, and that the center of attention is on these counselors. And it starts out, I forget what the main guy was. It TP or Richie or somebody at the very beginning was singing about
TP. Yeah,
I was
TP. Yeah,
and everybody was everybody talks very thespian-like. Everybody talks like they're in Shakespeare. Something they'll just go into random monologues and soliloquies, and everybody is just enraptured with what they're saying. And I'm just sitting there boo, you corny. Who are you talking like that? What are you talking like that for?
Oh, yeah. The dialogue in this movie is something else.
Okay,
but how awkward did you find that hot tub scene they had in this movie?
Oh my god, I wrote a whole paragraph on that.
I was just that is so awkward to me. Why are they acting like that?
I've never felt more of a third wheel. I felt like a third wheel on a couple that's having a date, and I was just a tag along. I was like, should I? There's a scene where these two who have the hots for each other are in the hot tub, and they're just circling around each other, eye-boning each other. And
you just feel awkward watching it.
For an uncomfortably long time. And by that, I mean...
cheesy 2 or 3 minutes, yeah.
A cheesy romantic song had enough time to start and end. And whoever was in charge of these shots must have been horny as hell because there were close-ups of every single article of clothing that got taken. Yeah. At one point, they do a zoom in on... I think that was TP was his name.
Yeah.
On
What's a terrible name, by the way?
I
Like,
just
can we
kept,
talk about that for a second?
I
Like,
couldn't
you could
take
do
him seriously.
TK, TJ, but why TP? Like, come on now.
I I was like, I couldn't take him seriously. You can't have a name like TP, a name that's synonymous with wiping asses, and have me take you seriously. But they had a
Right.
shot of his crotchal region where he's like unbuckling his so close up that you could pretty much count the individual hairs on his happy trail. I mean, it was that close up, and close up of his ass, and then a close up of her taking off her necklace and shirt. And I'm like, whoever is shooting this is uncomfortably horny. Like
Right.
I'm feeling a little uncomfortable here.
Right. That was just about him. Like, should I leave and just come back?
And when they're not making out or boning each other, they're talking about it.
Yeah.
These counselors can't help themselves. You leave them alone for 5 minutes. I understand why Jason's mother was so angry.
Right.
But getting back to actual Madman Mars, his
God.
his origin story is that he used to be a drunk wife beater who did the town like get together and kill him.
I guess he killed his family, went to the bar with the bloody axe.
Oh yeah,
sat
went to the
down and
bar.
started drinking, and then the town killed him.
And now he roams the land, killing people
Yeah.
with an axe. And I think it's funny that they called him a drunk because he certainly sounded like it. Every time he would make a noise, he sounded like. I was like, is this Madman or is this Bigfoot? Why does he sound like that?
Right? Like they made him look like an animal too. Like he had paws. Like his hands kind of looked like claws.
Which I thought was pretty interesting. At the
That's
very
cool,
beginning,
yeah.
there is this old man, Max, who actually tells us the story of Madman Mars. And this was the first time I'm glad that I was wrong because I was like, man, this guy is so cool and so nice. He's definitely dying. But he actually survives. I was looking up some trivia on this. Haley, author Haley Newland, if you're listening, I know you're out there listening. Vincent Price was originally asked to be Max in this.
Really?
Yeah, I looked up a little trivia thing when I was on Amazon watching this, and it said originally they approached Vincent Price. And it makes sense because a lot of this dialogue sounds like something that Vincent Price would monologue in one of his movies. There's one scene where a guy is like laying by the fire and he's like, I love laying and listen to the fire devour the wood. There's so much beauty and destruction. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Who are you trying to impress talking like that? And
Yeah, if it was Vincent Price, it'd be different.
yes,
Like,
if it was
that's
Vincent,
a line written in the script just for Vincent Price.
but you coming out of your mouth, you just sound pretentious.
Yeah.
I also have to take back something that I texted you last night because I texted you. I said, man, this little girl's only said 2 sentences and I'm already annoyed with her.
That's all she said.
That's all she said. Because I thought that this was all going to be about the kids, but it's about this. I'm not helping my case when of me like in my vendetta against kids, apparently.
Right.
But I was upset because you had Max who said he spent like 10 minutes telling the story of Madman Mars, his origin story, his whatever. And then at the very end, the little girl was like, Mommy, what's Madman Mars? I'm like, kid, the dude just spent 10 minutes telling you the story. What do you mean who's Madman? He just told you the story. And then she said, I heard. I had to keep my eyes closed through the entire story. Well, so do you know who he is then or not? Or do you need me to tell you? Because shut up, little kid. Just be quiet, little kid, please. I can't tell I don't know what you want from me.
I know. When I was watching the movie, as soon as I saw the scene, I was like, "Oh, Chris is gonna hate that."
But we'll circle back around to that statement when we review The Burning. So,
Okay.
Madman Mars basically chops his way through person after person after person until we're eventually left with. I kept
Betsy?
calling her Discount Gwyneth Paltrow because she kind of looked like Gwyneth Paltrow a little bit to me. But yes, her name is Betsy.
But not good at acting.
Now, everybody, again, super cheesy acting. Sometimes I love it, but there's one actress, I think she was Betsy's friend. She's just constantly kind of smiling and looking out into the distance. Even when she got killed.
Like I was like, what is wrong with this person?
Even when she was getting killed with an axe, she was kind of like smiling and looking, but not like smiling creepily, but smiling like, do you not know that you just got stabbed? You're not, why are you looking like that for?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go ahead and touch on this bit, because you mentioned that you felt a certain kind of way about the music that they used for this.
Especially like the girl you're talking about, like when she was getting chased in like the camp, like the music they used for it was like so bad. Like it distracted me from watching what was actually happening. I was like, this is terrible.
Now, I liked it in the intro credits, like the synth, electronic piano synth kind of music that you hear a lot of in slasher movies. I thought
Yeah.
that was a good novelty at the very beginning. I was even kind of bobbing my head a little bit to it, but then it started getting overused every single time he was attacking.
Yeah. And then every time he swung his axe, it was like a weird sound. I was like, what is that?
But you know that synth I'm talking about? Even in
Yeah.
quiet moments, it would have that music playing, which I was like, you don't really need that. It's
You don't need
cool at the
music
very
right now.
beginning.
Like yeah, they play it in like quiet moments of the forest. Like you're in a forest, you don't need that. Use the natural noises of the forest right now.
Like if you just had some nice, quiet, ambient sound and then put in that synth, then I think it would have worked a lot better.
Yeah, they just kind of had something they thought sounded good and just kind of used it over and over again. I'm not gonna lie, Betsy's death scene at the end
Hmm.
was super annoying because girl got like impaled through a hook
Hmm.
and she was just kind of chilling there, like calmly grabbing a knife.
That's actually when I started noticing the bad ADR in this because she got
Yeah,
stabbed, and then when he's dragging her to the basement, you see her face, but you hear the audio of her going ooh
yeah,
even though her mouth is kind of closed. I mean, it was
yeah,
1980, but that ADR was horrible.
yeah. Then when she's get to impaled, she's not making any noise, not even acting like it hurts. She's just calmly grabbing her knife
hmm
and then stabs him with it. I'm like, so getting impaled on a hook through a
his
chest.
just a flesh wound.
Yeah, but when he slashed your face, they made a bunch of noise.
I will
Okay.
say what I did like about this though is, I'm pretty sure that it was just a product of, well, actually, at the very beginning, did you ever grow up watching Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yes.
This
I don't
is
really
what
remember it too much, but
I loved that show growing up,
yeah,
and it reminded me. I was like, you know what? This is probably what the Midnight Society would have looked like if they kept going on into adulthood. They're all gathered around a campfire. I like the setting of a nice campfire story. You couldn't really do that nowadays in movies because it's kind of cheesy. But I guarantee you that if they were to remake this and try to do a campfire thing with a bunch of teenagers, the director would have the teenagers throwing in the word like fuck every other sentence, I'm sure.
see, I think if you did this, you need a bunch of people in like late 20s and 30s around a campfire. Because I feel like at my age, this is something we still do. We'll still have bonfires and we'll just sit there and bullshit around.
Hmm. But
Yeah,
I like a nice campfire ghost story. I don't think that you really see that anymore nowadays, but and campfire stories are kind of, whatever nowadays, but I like them. I thought it was a cool little setting, so I enjoyed that little bit of it. But
yeah,
this is definitely, your typical 80s slasher. You got your gore, you got your horny teenagers. They're all boozing it up or having sex, and then you have a urban legend on the loose going around with an axe, which sometimes you just don't really need a complicated origin story. It's just an urban legend, and he's just a killer on the loose.
yeah. Works. I mean,
That's why they're
doesn't.
so popular in the 80s because it's just like, you know
Yeah,
what? We're here. We've seen this setup multiple times, but I'm here to just have a little bit of fun, watch some teens get axed off, and just have a fun time.
exactly.
I won't give my rating for this one until after we do the burning, but
Same.
I
Yeah.
thought it was interesting. It took me forever to get through both of these movies. I started at 11 o'clock last night, and I finished about an hour ago, it's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Because with these movies, I stop it every 2 minutes and then jot down like a bunch of notes, which is why I got like 4 pages right here. But it was cool watching these alone in the dark at night, just with my headphones on, just with the dim lit of the laptop, just the only light.
I mean, they're fun movies to watch.
So let's move on to The Burning. So, The Burning, much like Madman, takes place at a summer camp, except for in this one, Cropsey, he's an urban legend, but we see his origin story. He was the victim of a prank that went wrong when a bunch of kids from a summer camp was he a counselor? or was he just another?
He was a caretaker
He
at
was
the
a
summer camp.
caretaker,
Yeah.
and he was kind of he wasn't the best looking guy, and everybody called him like a free. They said they couldn't stand him and stuff like that.
Kind of
So
like
they
he was a prick, so.
yeah, so they a bunch of kids decided, all right, we're going to try to scare him. I don't know where they found a skull lying around, which they kind of gloss over that because they scare him with a skull. What was that skull, and where did these kids find a skull?
Yeah, and they filled it with like worms and
They
stuff.
filled it with worms and everything and put some candles inside it and snuck it into his bedroom. He wakes up, freaks out, sees it, knocks it onto his bed by accident, and then it catches fire, and then he burns up. He's burned like they Freddy Krueger him, and he
Yeah.
basically has like 90% of his body all burnt away. He goes to the hospital. Years pass. He gets released from the hospital, and then he goes on a murderous rampage. He goes back to the same camp, or at least I think it's the same camp.
You know what? It wasn't even like the camp that he was killing them at. He waited until they went on their like little
Canoe
canoe
trip.
trip. Yeah, that was like miles away from the camp.
But it might have been from the same camp that they just
I
happened to be
definitely
in.
think it was the same camp just because of what was revealed at the end.
So he basically goes and he just starts offing a bunch of teens as well as the counselors indiscriminately. And that's the plot for that. Except for in this one, we actually see the origin story and
Take place,
we understand
yeah.
why he's doing what he's doing, kinda. So right off the bat, I'm going into this one with a little bit more of a bias because this one has George Costanza in it.
Right? Like, and you could tell, like, even though it's before Seinfeld days, like, you could already tell that he was like the best actor of the
He
bunch.
was the best actor. He was the most charismatic actor in this entire thing. And he had
He
hair.
was great in it. Yeah, he had hair. He was really good in this movie.
Before we get into the actual camp part, I made this same. Well, I kind of touched on this a little bit with our Candyman review. What is it about hospitals hiring orderlies with terrible bedside manner? At the very beginning, when
Oh my god, yes.
when Cropsey is sitting there burnt up in the burn ward, you had this one orderly talking to another one saying, "Oh man, you gotta see this guy. He is burnt. If you look at this guy, you will never want to work here again. This guy is so burnt. Big Mac." That's what he said. He says Big Mac. And this, I was like, dude, the guy is sitting like 5 feet away from, he can hear you. What are you
Maybe
doing?
he thought he was in a coma.
The dude was 5 minutes away from setting up a circus tent and charging $5 for people to come and see him. He was
Basically, yeah.
like, come on, come one, come all. Come check out this freak who got burned over 90% of his body. Then maybe we'll go and check out and ogle the cancer ward. Like, this dude had horrible bedside manner.
But it was hilarious, though. Like, I was laughing during it.
I did get a giggle out of that because I was like, no, like, dude, you are so fired. So, actually, the very first victim of Cropsey's revenge wasn't even one of the counselors or kids. It was a random prostitute.
Yeah. Because she saw him. She's like, just go. Leave me alone. And then he choked her, yeah.
Now, I don't know if he was intentionally going to kill a prostitute or if he was just trying to, get one pre-murder spree nut before he was going to go on his rampage. And then she just sees him and then just goes off. You know what he kind of looked like? He kind of looked like the Nemesis from Resident Evil.
Yeah, now that you say that.
Like, that's what his face kind of looked like. Actually, you know what he was like? He's like Darkman if Darkman didn't have any special abilities, but he was still pissed off.
Yeah.
So then we make our way to the camp. Now, if you thought that Madman was a horny movie, this movie is very horny.
Like over the top.
Before we even get to like any of the killing, there's slow-mo shots of girls playing softball, like running with no bra on, but slow-mo shots so you can see her breasts bouncing. We see a close-up of a girl's ass and another guy off to the side whispering to Jason Alexander, "Duh, look at that ass. You see that ass? I want that ass." This was written by Harvey Weinstein, by the way.
Makes sense.
Human
piece of shit.
If that kind of dialogue isn't a dead giveaway, but I gotta say, because there was also another shot where the girl is showering. It's a close up of her head and she's showering, and then just an intentional zoom out just enough so we can see her breasts. I was like,
Yeah.
I was a teen, I'm a guy. I like titties as much as the next guy, but that just seemed like, yeah, it just seemed very deliberate. Like the
Yeah.
camera operator or the cinematographer was like winking at the dudes, like, I got you boys. I know what you're here for.
Right. Yeah.
It was just framed in such a way that it slow zoomed out just enough so we could see the breasts. And then it was like, all right, now I'm just going to linger on here for a little bit. And now we can proceed.
Yeah. With a weird kid watching her in the shower.
The weird kid watching. They tried to make that kid sympathetic, but I'm like, no, this dude is creeping on girls in the shower.
Dude was so weird the entire movie too.
The camp counselor was defending that kid the entire time, like, hey, look, I'll talk to him. Look, that kid's been getting picked on, and I'll talk to him, make sure I'll set him straight. I'm like, well, yeah, he's getting picked on. He's sitting there creeping on chicks in the shower.
Right?
Which then he runs into the boyfriend of the girl who was in the shower, the obvious bully of this.
Yeah. Oh my god. Just the
And
way he talked was ridiculous.
I laughed every time this book because he was so stereotypical. Like he was like one line away from going, "Hey, nerd."
He basically did that.
But-
hey, nerd, what you doing? Looking at my girlfriend.
But weirdly, he was the most tame. Like this is a universe where dudes set other guys on fire. The only thing that this bully ever did was just threaten the dude. Say, "Yo, if you ever look at my girl like that again, I'm gonna, beat the crap out of you." I'm like,
Yeah, he
all right,
pushed him in the water. Okay.
I was like, all right, this, for a bully, this guy's actually pretty reasonable.
Right?
I'd be kind of upset too if somebody snuck in and looked at my girlfriend while she was showering.
Exactly.
But him being the bully also made me love the fact that Jason Alexander, God bless this man. Jason Alexander is this charismatic guy. He's friends with kind of like the other regular dudes, but he doesn't take shit from the bully.
Yeah.
He sits there and talks to the bully like he was just some other guy. He's like, "Yo, man, are you gonna?" He's basically like Red from Shawshank Redemption. He goes and gets things that people want at the camp
Exactly.
camp. He's like, "Hey, I got your rubbers right here. I got your Hustler right here. I got your Playboy." He's like, "Hey, did you get my rubbers?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got your rubbers right here." Which is probably why everybody likes him. Because he's the guy who can get you things. Even the girls, there are no real outcast other than Alfred. Everybody here,
They all seem like a big group of friends. Like, yeah.
I like this kind of dynamic between everybody because they you have that guy who's kind of a bully, but other people don't necessarily, other than Alfred, who's the outcast spying on chicks in the shower. Nobody really
But
takes
even
shit from
like
anybody.
a couple girls said that they liked Alfred, which is weird.
Like nobody really takes shit from anybody here.
No.
Like the bully pushed what's his face in the water.
Alfred in the water, and then
was it Alfred when he pushed in the water?
Yeah, because he can't swim or whatever.
Pushed Alfred in the water, and then they got back at him by shooting him in the ass with a BB. And even the girls kind of jumped in and like pushed him in the water. Pushed Glazer. Glazer was his name, the bully, and pushed Glazer in the water.
Such a bully name too.
And I was like, you know what? It's kind of working itself out here. The bully acts a certain way, and then it gets reciprocated by them getting back at him. I kind of like this dynamic, but it doesn't get too out of hand.
No. Like I said, they're just like a giant group of friends at this camp.
Not to mention, I put a little bit later, the universe kind of has a way of working itself out because Glazer's a bully, but he's also a two-pump chump.
Right?
He is a premature ejaculator who like was trying to get with this girl the entire movie, and then 2 thrusts and he was over, and he's like, "Yeah, sorry about that."
Yeah, she looked so unimpressed and just kind of annoyed. Like, oh, okay.
Like, dude, you've been spending the last day and a half like begging this girl to sleep with you, basically dry humping her leg the entire movie, and then she finally is giving it to you, and you're like, ugh. I'm like,
That's rough.
We should probably talk about Cropsy though. I just enjoy talking about the actual kids, but Cropsy, you can tell that this one had a little bit of a better budget because we saw the actual kills in a little bit more detail as compared to Madman.
Actually, I think Madman might have had a bigger budget.
Really? You might have to look that up. See if you can find the budget between those two.
So Madman had a budget of $350,000.
Okay.
But it made $1.3 million in the box office.
Okay, so it made its money back.
I'm not seeing anything for budget for The Burning, but it only made $700,000 in the box office.
But they went a little bit more in on the prosthetics and practical effects.
Okay, so The Burning had a budget of $1.5 million.
I kind of figured that it would because we saw like actual shears going into people. We saw slicing and blood squirting out of the head. So they spent a little bit more time on the actual blood and gore of it.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that Madman did better in the box office.
How much money did Burning make?
The Burning made 700,000.
So it made the amount that the Madman cost.
No, Madman's budget was only three hundred fifty
Oh, I
thousand.
thought it was
So
7. Yeah,
so
that's
it
weird
doubled, man. Yeah, Madman's budget.
because I've heard of Cropsy more than I heard of Madman.
And like, if you look at the ratings, the Burning gets better ratings too. So from like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes.
But to sum up how the end of the burning happens, turns out that the camp counselor who was going to bat for Alfred was one of the kids who burned Cropsy when he himself was in that camp years earlier, which I thought was an interesting twist.
Which I
Because
think I kind of you understand why he's so willing to like be nice to even like the weird kid
that made sense because
because
he
he doesn't
feels
want to be
guilty.
that. Yeah, he doesn't want to be that asshole counselor that kids.
But I didn't see that coming. I just thought that it was Cropsy haunting his old camp. I just thought he
Right,
was.
I was surprised by that too. I was like, oh, all
So
right,
not only was it a neat little ending, but they kind of threw in a little twist. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It kind of makes a little bit more sense now.
yeah.
So we talked about Madman and we talked about the burning. Let's compare these two. I'll ask you first, although I think I might know the answer. Which one did you prefer?
Okay, so I prefer the Burning
Me too.
over Madman, but I think Madman Marks is a better villain than Cropsy.
See, it depends how you go. I like the burning better too. I think the characters were a lot more interesting because when we focused on the kids, you had a little bit more variety of how these. I love the interactions between these kids.
Yeah, I felt like the acting was better too.
Whereas in Madman, all the camp counselors were corny, horny, and just cheesy.
Yeah,
Which the so were the teens a little bit, but they actually felt like actual teenagers.
Yeah,
The way they talked with each other, they felt like, all right, they snuck, porno mags and condoms and smoked cigarettes, and it was just very interesting. I enjoyed, if anything, if this wasn't a horror movie, if this was rewritten to be like a drama or a coming of age tale between like friends and counselors at a camp or something like that, I'd be interested in it because the kids were very interesting to watch.
yeah. I mean, like I said, I think The Burning was the better movie. It just Madman, I thought was
Like
better.
if we were to pit like these two villains against each other, Madman Mars would.
Fuck Cropsy up. No
Yes,
questions.
he's
about
got
it.
them big, strong farm hands that used to throwing bales of hay around and
Yeah.
plowing the fields, and he, can lift up people with one arm. He was able to lift that axe out of that tree stump that nobody else
Yeah.
could lift out of.
Yeah, and I mean, plus he showed a variety of different ways of killing people that you really didn't get from Cropsy. So
Plus, we had mentioned the music. Burning did what I wanted in Madman, in which they didn't overuse the music. They let a lot of stuff remain silent.
yeah,
And I'm trying to think, we didn't really see we had a couple of fake out scares where the first one being when they're playing baseball and one of the girls goes out into the woods to try to find the baseball and you see the shears and you think that Cropsy's about to kill her, but no. And then later on, one of the dudes is in the cabin and you hear the building musical tension and then it turns out that it's just one of the counselors. It used its music and atmosphere to better effect than I think that Madman did.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like,
But it kind of goes to what I think that Madman did a little bit better. It kind of depends. Do you like an urban legend in which we understand why the killer is doing what he's doing, or do you like an urban legend in which it's like they're just here to kill and there's no reason why he just here to kill? Because that's what Madman was. He's a guy whose spirit roams this place and he just kills people who say his name. Whereas Burning, we were like, all right, we kind of understand where he's coming from. He got his entire body burnt up, and he's very much like Freddy Krueger coming back to exact revenge.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit more intriguing to have a killer that you don't really know his motives, that he's just killing people sometimes.
I mean, I kind of agree with that. That's what
yeah.
I kind of liked a little bit with Madman is just, you know what?
But sometimes it's situational, you know.
It is, but I will say that I just kind of like unknown background. It's just, you know what? This guy is just a drunk. Well, actually, both urban legends say that the monster man was a drunk, abusive person.
Right.
So maybe they're not really like, maybe they're just drunk the whole time. I don't know. That's why they're going on these rampages. They're just drunk.
Could be. I mean, the first person that Madman kills is the super drunk counselor person.
Oh, the one who was passed out with a bottle of, I guess, looked like Jack Daniels or something on him.
Yeah, and she's like, "This one's empty." He's like, I'm gonna have to get another." And then he goes and he gets killed.
Madman offed him like Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where it just came out of nowhere. It was like, bam, no nonsense, just you did.
I think that was like one of two scenes that counselor had too, because he didn't really have any lines before that either.
No, he didn't. Now, what did you think of both endings of how they left it?
I mean, felt like they were both like left open for sequels.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
because they said that they never found Cropsy's body, and Madman we just saw the place starting to burn down, and him just kind of, I guess, go off.
Yeah. So I feel like neither one had a definitive ending, or like had like a. I feel like in the Burning, you had the counselor, like the final guy, have a more definitive victory over him than you did in Madman, you know? Yeah, because in Madman, none of the counselors survived except for like Mac, the guy who ran the camp.
Mm-hmm.
That's only because he didn't see Madman Marks at all. So
before we get to our ratings for both of these, did you have a particular kill that you enjoyed, or instead of kill of the movie, kill of the verses?
Yes, mine was TP getting hung by a tree.
I can't take his name seriously.
No, but I was also like, oh, TP's TPing the tree.
TP, haha, TP's hanging from the tree.
So I was like, oh, that's cool. And it was like an unexpected kill. Like I didn't expect anybody to get hung in either one of these movies, you know?
Mm-hmm. In the back of my mind, every time they kept saying his name, I said, is your name TP because your acting is so ass?
Probably.
My kill was Karen from The Burning.
Okay.
Because I sympathize with anybody who gets killed while they're bare-ass naked. And that actress had to probably be walking around in the woods butt naked for quite a while. Ever since she went to do the skinny dip scene all the way to the actual kill scene, that woman was walking around in the woods, topless at least, but at some points completely naked for quite a while. That had to be an awkward scene to film.
Yeah.
So I gave that to her. Just because I hate the idea of just you're butt naked. It's kind of like also getting killed on the toilet. You're just at your most
vulnerable. Yeah.
And then she got her throat slit, and it's just a sucky way to go out.
Yeah. Definitely agree with you on that. All right. So what ratings are you giving these movies?
All right, so in terms of a slasher, I'm going to break it down like this. I like the idea of Madman Mars a little bit better than the idea of Cropsy, just as an urban legend. I like the characters better in The Burning, better than the characters in Madman.
Okay.
And I thought that the kills were better in Burning than they were in Madman. Madman, out of 10, I would say, gets about a 6. Burning, I would give about a 7.5 to 8 because I thought the characters were very enjoyable to watch.
All right.
So 6 to Madman, and 7.5 to The Burning.
Okay. For me, I would say with Madman, I feel like it's pretty average, so I'm gonna give it a 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then with The Burning, I was thinking giving it a 6, but I'm gonna give it a 6.5 because George Costanza.
George Costanza definitely made me go from a 7 to a 7.5.
Yeah, like he's worth half a point just in this movie with how good he was.
Just how good he was, and he's just a very, very likable presence on screen that everybody likes him. And there's a reason. The way he talks with everybody, you can tell that he has like a rapport with everybody. Even to the point where the bully doesn't like bully him. He lets out Jason Alexander talk to him just like a regular dude.
Right, like if anyone else in the camp talked to the bully the way Jason Alexander would, he'd probably, be like, oh, I'm going to beat you up.
Yeah, kick his ass.
Yeah.
So I guess we kind of lean on the same side of this. So in this versus...
The Burning wins.
The Burning wins between Madman and the Burning.
And the Burning, yeah.
This was fun, and we should do a couple more of these.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. So if you guys listening have any suggestions, make sure to hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.
Thanks again to the Horror Demon for suggesting that we do this, and this one was a special one just for them because they reached out.
Yeah,
but
yeah, this is a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, and we'll put together any 2 movies.
Yeah,
we need any excuse to watch horror movies and then just break them down. I don't need any kind of persuasion. I'll just do it.
Like they don't even have to be similar. You could be like, hey,
do Bride of Chucky and American Werewolf of London.
Right.
But let us know what you thought of this special episode, and we'll put out some more. In the meantime, we'll just be putting out our regular podcasts every Tuesday as usual, and some more bonus one will hopefully be coming y'all's way.
All right, everybody. Have a good day.
Take it easy, everybody.